This is the exact moment Russian volleyball has been waiting for more than 4 years. The news that still felt like pure fantasy yesterday is now putting the Russian national team back on the world volleyball map. If July 7th was recognized as World Volleyball Day, then in Russia, honestly, I feel like we can move that holiday to July 8th, because that's the day the FIVB officially brings Russian volleyball back into the global race. The decision is connected to the fact that the IOC had earlier lifted its previous recommended restrictions on Russian athletes and teams. The FIVB said, this lines up with their position. Athletes should have the right to compete regardless of nationality. The Russian national teams will also be restored in the world rankings, and they'll get back the same ranking points they had at the moment the rankings were frozen. So the Russian men's national team is already sitting in 3rd place, which almost guarantees them a successful qualification for the upcoming 2028 Olympics, and the women's team is in 9th place. So, in short, Russia is coming back to international volleyball. The national teams are being restored in the rankings, but the question of the flag, anthem and national symbols is still unresolved. So what does this give us in the near future? Considering the new qualification system for the Nations League, in 2027 both the men's and women's teams will enter the tournament as the highest ranked teams among those that didn't take part in 2026. Maybe Russian clubs will also get invitations to the Club World Championship, and there's also the possibility of the national teams playing at the 2027 World Championship. We definitely won't see the Russian national team at Euro 2026, because the list of teams has already been finalized. And at the time of recording this video, the CEV still hadn't made any comments, and they're the ones responsible for running that tournament, as well as the Champions League. So I wouldn't expect any miracles there either. Best case scenario, a few Russian clubs might get thrown into the Champions League qualifiers, but I personally wouldn't get my hopes up too much. So the nearest international tournament where we'll see the Russian national team is the 2027 Nations League. Although maybe the beach volleyball players could already jump into the current World Tour, but at the time this video comes out, their ranking still hasn't been restored. And it would be kind of weird to just release a video where I'm simply celebrating this amazing news, so I decided to add a part with some of my own fantasy scenarios, the kind I never really dared to share before. From time to time, while watching Nations League matches, I would catch myself thinking about who could make the Russian national team roster in the current tournament. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about now. I'll share my extended roster for the Russian men's national team, and you guys write your own roster in the comments, the one you think would be optimal for a volleyball marathon like this. And if anyone really knows women's volleyball too, feel free to list all the best Russian female players who could represent the country at the national team level. So let's start with the setters. Following Italy's example, I would take 4 setters for a tournament like this: Pankov, Abayev, Poroshin and Kobzar. A pretty obvious choice, basically the starting setters from the top teams in the Russian league. For the final stage, I would keep Pankov and Abayev. With the opposites, the task would be a little trickier, but I decided for myself that I'd keep 4 players: Sapochkov, Klets, Mikhailov and Muzersky. I'd really love to see Dmitry finish his career not just in a Sunbirds jersey, but in the uniform of the Russian national team. And with that in mind, for the final stage I'd keep Sapochkov and Musersky. With all due respect to the legendary machine gun Maxim, right now he no longer looks like that ultimate player, who can consistently make the difference at the very highest level. Although when it comes to experience, absolutely nobody here can match him. Choosing the middle blockers was much harder because Russia has always had a huge number of talented players in this position. But to make the task a little easier for myself, I just remember who the head coach of the national team is: Konstantin Bryansky, who also coaches Dynamo. So the first pair is Vlasov and Juk. Who else can we add to this group? Let's take Lizik, Kurkaev, Romanovsky and Brazhnuk. There isn't much expert analysis here. I just liked how these guys played last season. I'm waiting for your options down in the comments. For the finals, I'll keep 4 middles: Vlasov, Juk, Lizik and Romanovsky, just to have some club variety. Now with the outside hitters, I also had to rack my brain a bit, but once again, let's put some of the responsibility on the head coach. So here we obviously have Bogdan Semishev and the newly minted Dynamo player Volkov. Let's also add Tetukin and Kurbanov, and we still need to decide on the sixth name. Let it be Lebinsky, but the hardest part for me is choosing the final four, or more specifically choosing between Tetukin and Kurbanov. Still, I'll go with the Belugari outside hitter as the more consistent player over the past few seasons, even despite Omar's super bright performance in the final stretch of the club season. And at libero, there isn't exactly a huge abundance of options. It's Baranov and Fedorov, and for the group stage we can also add Golubev and Melkozerov. So, that's the roster I ended up with. I am definitely waiting for your versions in the comments. And also write how happy you are about this comeback. Probably the best volleyball news we've had in a long time. And as always, this was Nick. Love what you do and you will definitely succeed. See you soon. Bye!